asking the questions that matter, lighting the fire to scatter, dancing with thoughts that flatter, building the dreams we chase after. Whispers are turning to thunder, echoes are pulling us under, passes and spark in the night, guiding us into the light, exercising the mind so bright, smart equal particles they fly.
Whew, hello. We are back again for yet another edition of The Kirk Conspiracy. Bride of Charlie, Episode 2, Dr. Jerry, and Mrs. Hyde is out. We are going to discuss that along with a few other things. Um, hmm, where to begin? Actually, let's start with what Erica Kirk had to say to Megyn Kelly, and we'll bring it up to date.
Listen to what Erica Kirk told Megyn Kelly.
It'll be a sign for you to know that Charlie's with you in something. When we first started dating, we were walking to dinner one night, and this happened a lot. The lights would start to flicker. And he'd look up at the light and be like, it's so weird. This happens to me a lot. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So our whole dating and whole marriage, anytime he'd be in a room and a light started to flicker, he would just look at me and wink. It was like our little thing.
It's power.
Yeah. It's a total frequency thing. And so the night everything happened when we were in Utah, I was in a hotel room by myself, in the bedroom portion by myself. And the bathroom light was on, and it just was a strobe light all night. And I was like, part of me couldn't sleep because it was a strobe light. The other part of me couldn't sleep because of how just my world has just crumbled. And the other part of me couldn't sleep because I was like, baby, I feel you. I know you're here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is truly comical at this point. Candace says something, everyone loses their minds, calls her crazy, says it's all made up. They coordinate to diagnose her with something, even bringing in, mental health experts from all over the world. They accuse her of forging or whatever they do. Then it gets confirmed as true. This was the case with the Hamptons intervention, the text message thread of Charlie saying that he had no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. You remember they made that up until Andrew Colvett confirmed it. The meeting that Justin Strife had with Pierre, they accused her of lying. And then when, in fact, after the dust settles and the receipts are provided, they were the ones that were caught, in fact, lying. And why? You only lie to cover something up.
It is very clear that woman did not like Charlie. I find it harder the further we go, the more we learn about Erica Kirk, the more I see her body language, the more she's trying to force people to believe that she was a doting wife and he was a doting husband. Like, were they even friends? I don't know. But, flickering lights and all, and word on the curb is that Erica previously had a secret engagement. Don't take my word for it. Take me.
What? We're checking the light? Oh, okay. Check the light.
Candace Owens just dropped a serious accusation, claiming Erica Kirk secretly got engaged to her ex-boyfriend. And it doesn't stop there. According to Candace, the engagement ring allegedly wasn't even paid for with Erica's own money. She's suggesting the ring may have been funded using Turning Point USA money instead. If that claim turns out to be true, it completely shatters the image Erica has been carefully presenting since Charlie's death. Publicly, Erica has positioned herself as the grieving widow, standing strong and loyal to Charlie's memory. But Candace is now hinting that behind closed doors, Erica may have already moved on. And not just with anyone, but with her former boyfriend, JT Massey. That's where things start to feel real uncomfortable. Because people recently dug up that old Amazing Race audition tape Erica filmed with JT years ago. In the clip, she's laughing with him, flirting, joking about house sells, and acting like they were still very close. At the time, most viewers brushed it off as an old memory from before her marriage. Nothing serious, just history.
Charlie himself moved the frame, and he would have had to do this on the 9th, the day before nation. And what would have happened thereafter is Erica simply didn't realize.
But now, with Candace claiming Erica might secretly be engaged to that same man again, that old video doesn't look random anymore. It suddenly feels like a missing puzzle piece sliding into place. And ever since Charlie passed away, more and more details about Erica's past keep surfacing. The biggest issue is that some of those details don't line up with what she told people before. Erica previously claimed she never dated anyone before Charlie and that he was basically her first real relationship. But that story started falling apart fast. People quickly uncovered names, connections, and a growing list of exes tied to Erica long before she ever met Charlie. And now, folks are asking, what else hasn't been fully explained? Erica allegedly had multiple boyfriends in the 5 years before she ever met Charlie, and people are saying the timeline just doesn't add up. The math isn't mathing, and folks online started digging fast.
It's tough to be a believer in the city.
Now from episode 1 and the diatribe that a young lady on Twitter/X put out, it makes sense that Erica was playing a part with Charlie, that she was looking for power, prestige, money, not so much love. But as the tale always goes, they keep that love, that loved one, that one true within arm's reach, within arm's length away. Now, don't really know how to explain this one, but we're going to Erica's early years and then immediately into what I dubbed Erica's timeline. Take a look.
Candace Owens put out a documentary today called The Bride of Charlie, which uncovers Erica Kirk's early years. In the documentary, we find out that Erica Kirk attended a super elite private school called the Tesseract. The Tesseract represents time. A Tesseract is also a cube, which fits inside a hexagram. The god of Saturn is Kronos, the god of time. Planet Saturn supposedly has a hexagon-shaped storm on top of it, created by low-frequency sine wave tones. Sine waves measure time. The elites worship the god of time, Sin, and Saturn. Sin sounds like a sine wave measures time. The Tesseract charter school that Erica Kirk attended was inside a Jewish school called the Looking Glass. Looking Glass is an alleged time travel technology that lets you peer into the future. Remember the Tesseract book we all read in elementary school, A Wrinkle in Time, where the characters travel through space and time by tessering? Time traveling? The elites worship the god of time, sin, and Saturn, Satan. They believe that by increasing evil in the world, sin, like a sine wave, time, can accelerate the death of the material world and escape it. Sin is separation from God, Adam and Eve. They were separated from God because of sin, when they fell from heaven into linear time. The time trap. Mind control, tesseracting the mind. That's what I think all of this stuff is. Candace and Erica soap opera, time travel, conspiracies, it's all a mind programming trap to separate you from God.
Was it after that's when you started pageants, or when did that come about?
Right. So the pageant world to me is something that it was an interesting season of life. It was nothing that I was ever groomed for. It was nothing that was ever on my radar. I wanted to play professional basketball. Tomboy. That was my thing. I remember getting something in the mail when I had come home from school one summer, and it was like, hey, you should compete at Miss Arizona USA, someone nominated you. And I was like, I don't know who would nominate me for that, but okay. So the pageant world for me was something that was not a form of narcissism. It was more along the terms of being a steward for my state, especially as it hit our 100th year celebration.
Yeah, that's not right. That's not true. Erica has been involved in pageants from the very beginning. Her mother is definitely the person who pushed that. I actually do believe that Erica loves basketball. There's no question she plays basketball. But this idea that she didn't want it is just not true. It's so objectively not true. Erica, without question, and anybody who's being objective and honest and looking at her history of the people that she dated and the people that she wanted to be in close proximity to, can guarantee to you that this girl wanted to be famous, like very badly wanted to be famous one way or the other. I mean, one of her exes was very clear. He said to me, I was warned by another person in beauty pageant world that girl will do anything to get to the top, and her mother will do anything to help her get to the top. Her mother herself, Lori, was a model actually at one point. So that hunger for Erica to get to the top, there is a connection just based on discussions I have had with multiple people to her mother. Erica is without question a climber. Okay. She is also without question willing to lie to make her mother look better. I mean, to say I grew up with a single mother is not true. So why is she saying it? Well, people suspect probably Lori is the person in her ear getting her to say that because it makes Lori look good. She wanted Erica to be famous, but let's not remove Erica from this. Erica desperately wanted to be famous. No one can deny that. Tomorrow, when we now begin in earnest to go through Erica's life, you will see she's never dated a normal guy. She's never dated a guy with a 9-to-5 job. And that's what Elizabeth Lane was hitting at when she was speaking about going through her exes. You can see like she was going to be with somebody. She was, okay, you're going to the NFL, you're going to the MLB, we can be on The Amazing Race together. You will see very clearly she is not dating a regular guy ever, okay? Her goal was to make it.
We have nothing to hide.
This is yet another one of Erica Kirk's lies that I don't understand when people lie, period. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes I do understand when somebody would lie. But as I keep saying throughout this entire series, her lies are always unprovoked. And it's not for the sake of, privacy or anything like that. What I don't get and what I find so peculiar is here's a woman who saw the potential for power, for fame, for prestige, for money in the realm of conservatism. And we know that conservatism is nothing but hypocritical when it comes to specifically the Republicans, the Christian evangelicals, okay, Christian nationalists, because you're supposed to be traditional women, and not having jobs, but they're influencers, they're orators, there's politicians, all these things. But if you're supposed to be so dainty and so feminine, why do you keep having to let people know how great you were at basketball? Why do you want to keep, what is it? Because you're saying that you've always been raised Christian. You've always been a Christian. So you can't say that your femininity came from learning about Christ later on, that your femininity came from your religion. So what is the point of constantly having to let people know your athletic acumen? And I don't know why that's a sticking point for me. I don't know why. But it's weird. And then the whole, we're traditional, blah, blah, blah. But my mom was such a strong single mother who did everything. Now, we all know the adage of, the married single mom, the in the relationship single mother. We all know that. But when people position themselves and show you who their heroes are, it's like, oh, I will be great and I will be better without a man. Like, I can do this so much better without a man. I just need his baby gravy, and I'll be fine with everything else. And there are people that someone years ago dubbed them earthly Amazons, where they have zero desire to ever be in a relationship, let alone a relationship with a man. And they need to prove and keep reminding people that they got to where they got to and they maintained themselves without a man. Okay, fine, cool, cool, cool. How about you just talk about your accomplishments? You don't have to bring men into the conversation. It's just my thing. But let's get into these are going to be a bit longer, each of them over 10 minutes, but let's take a listen.
Marriage took place in the 90s, or whether that marriage took place at all, we will see if we can discover throughout this series. But today, I would like to discuss with you guys Kent Francfay's first wife. This woman is very important. The woman that he married before Lori, in my opinion, is one of the more compelling characters in this story because she's very powerful, she's very connected, and she has quite a peculiar background. And ultimately, her life, despite the fact that she married Kent first, is going to plug right into Erica's life. This woman's name she died 2 years ago, Dr. Jerri Francfay. Look at Dr. Jerri Francfay. I'm going to tell you about Dr. Jerri Francfay. She keeps her name. She also dies in Arizona. Everybody's in Arizona. You would have no idea that these people were exes, and they seem to get along quite well. They keep doing business together. Well, Dr. Jerri was born Jerri Pitts in 1943. She was born into a very strict Mormon household. Yeah, fun fact, Erica's father was at first married to a Mormon before he got together with Lori. Jerri's Mormon family is from Arizona, a very powerful Mormon family, but she herself was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. Jerri also happens to be a victim of child rape. Okay. Now, she's going to tell the story in a different way. She's almost going to, when she retells the story, make it sound like a love story. It's weird to me. I don't think a person should be trying to normalize child rape, or if they do, they probably shouldn't hold any future positions of power over children. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I'll let Jerri tell it. Let's read a bit of this article from 1981 where she recounts her own history. It tells us that at 14, she ran away from a strict Mormon upbringing in Indianapolis to get married. She says, quote, "I was a straight A student and was about to get the worst mark of my life, a C in algebra," Francfay said in an interview. "I couldn't face my parents. I loved my boyfriend. We saw an opportunity and we took it. I lied about my age. I altered my birth certificate. I then smeared it with Clarisol to make it look older. 6 months later, we asked to come home and we were welcomed. She was a mother before her peers graduated high school and divorced before she was old enough to vote." Okay, so just to recap, she gets married at 14. Not mentioned is the fact that she's already pregnant. Okay, she then runs away for 6 months to the other side of Indianapolis, uses Clarisol so she can get married at 14, has this little shotgun wedding. She gets married to a guy named Carl Pangerl. Carl Pangerl, spelled Pangerl, is 5 or 6 years her senior. I can't really tell. Look, she's already telling us she's forging docs, so he could be 5 or 6 years her senior. And just so you know, he's going to go on to become a bishop in the Mormon church because marrying a child is apparently not a disqualifier. In fact, she tells us her parents welcome them back into the home. Okay, I guess. Let's keep going. They divorce, and then Jerri somehow becomes a bookkeeper. She gets into accounting. So it doesn't matter that she got knocked up at 14, that she's married and divorced before she turns 18. She's still somehow able to just get a good job and begin a career. She becomes a bookie. She learns clerical machines. And I would love to know who exactly it was that she was bookkeeping for, because I think it probably was somebody pretty important. Because Jerri then suddenly marries some top brass in the military. Her second husband, and we're not going to get it, just going to give you the facts about him. He's a man named Kenneth Himsel, and he's a captain in the Indiana National Guard. He goes on to become a general, a major general. They get hitched in 1965. Jerri's now got connections. She gets a bachelor's degree in psychology. That same year, psychology is what she is about to become an expert. That's going to be her career path in. She just gets psychology, particularly the psychology of children. It's now 1970. She's 27, and she becomes a social worker in Indiana. And instantly in my mind, and I get it, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm pretty obsessed with MK Ultra. I don't love anybody that was a psychologist in the 70s, especially one that's connected to the military, especially someone that's connected to the military in Indiana who happens to be a victim of child rape herself. I'm not loving it. A lot of red flags here. It's immediately suspicious because MK Ultra was in full swing. And if you did not know, Indiana was a major hub for MK Ultra action. The universities in Indiana were factually involved in experimentation. In fact, Indiana was actually the place that the government manufactured the LSD to drug people with for their experiments. You can thank Indiana for the hippies movement. Thank you, Indiana. Anyway, suddenly Jerri's big time, okay? In 1971, she heads out to Chicago and she begins working for Quaker Oats for 3 years. Now, if you're like me, I was like, well, at least Quaker Oats, we know, hired a psychologist for what? She says she was helping them with marketing. What kind of marketing? Okay, the official story, like, I don't know, help us sell these oats. She was helping them with marketing. What kind of marketing? Okay, the official story, like, I don't know, help us sell these oats. And if you're like me, I was literally thinking in my head, well, at least Quaker Oats was never involved in any weird MK Ultra type experimentation or anything. Except for that one time when Quaker Oats was actually going into mental institutions and force feeding a bunch of radioactive oats to little boys. Look at this article. This is our government. A spoonful of sugar helps the radioactive oatmeal go down. Yes, Quaker Oats was conducting experiments on unsuspecting young boys. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Anyway, the Atomic Energy Commission teamed up with Quaker Oats to experiment on children. Now, how long did that go on for? Did Jerri Franzfé herself play a part in any experimentation on children with Quaker Oats? Was this even related to MK Ultra? We're never going to know any of those answers. Put it out of your minds, because in 1975, the military orders the destruction of all of the files related to MK Ultra. So what we have today, which is already terrifying, is just a skeleton of just how far-reaching that CIA program was. But I can say confidently, I've always believed that MK Ultra was tasked with creating Manchurian candidates. I believe a lot of people in politics today went through weird psychology programs. It's my personal opinion. This is my podcast. I am entitled to it. Jerri meets and marries Kent Franzfé, jumping back into her timeline. Okay, she meets and marries Kent Franzfé while she's working for Quaker Oats. And she's a few years older than him. She continues to climb the ranks as a psychologist, gets a master's degree, a doctorate. Now she's going by Dr. Franzfé. And her and Kent Franzfé moved down to Paradise Valley, Arizona, before deciding to divorce. Okay? We're supposed to believe that, okay, well, they're divorced. They're never going to see each other again. Maybe. Should know that once she becomes a doctor, she has arrived. She is now going to work for the biggest and most powerful families in the world. Okay, this is where it's going to get really fun, because she begins working for, I mean, not even just one of the most powerful families in the world, but it also happens to be a French family. France. I could never do a series where you're not there, France. The DuPonts. I kid you not. She starts working for the DuPont family, becoming the director of employee relations for DuPont, because she's so good at psychology. She gets into organizational psychology. She is tasked effectively, I would say, with finding the psychopaths that should head up the corporations that are run by the elite bloodlines. She goes into partnership working for the DuPonts. Now, in case you forgot, they're also just mass poisoning people. That's what they've done for a very long time. If the lawsuits are telling us anything about, they have innumerable lawsuits related to them poisoning the population, giving people cancer. Jerri's apparently a good fit. In 1983, DuPont completes the largest merger in corporate history with Conoco Oil, and they're able to do this thanks to Reagan and George Bush being in office, deregulating things, making it easier for private corporations to go in and do bigger deals. Of course, we know DuPont then moves those headquarters to Wilmington, Delaware. I just loved looking into her and just seeing that she's the DuPont woman, because I like to pause and reflect on past episodes when I don't know why everybody's freaking out about things. And I just like to consider how terrified they must have been when I'm looking into the Charlie Egyptian plains and I'm like, what's going on in Wilmington, Delaware? And I instantly hit the DuPont family. And then Erica's out there nervously at AmFest cracking like not funny jokes about Egyptian planes. She's like, no, nobody from Egyptian planes are here. Tell you something, her jokes are going to become less and less funny as we get deeper into this series. Now back to Dr. Jerri. She is then somehow awarded an entire research center, at Radford University in 1983, a gender clinic of all things. She's a feminist, and she's awarded a gender clinic, and they begin giving lessons to the military. My question is on what? Gender? Why do we need a research facility? Oh, I know why. The reason, and so you need to understand how the world works. The reason why companies might be interested in having people that will come up with BS research for them is because government and corporations have to produce completely fictitious academic reports and studies to justify the psychopathic things that they're doing to us worldwide. Okay, you got to have the experts. You got to have the psychopathic experts that will produce the reports so that people in power can just unilaterally force things across the population, like the COVID vaccine. Oh, well, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. Franz-Fay maybe says that if you don't get the vaccine, it's because you're a psychopath. If you don't line up and get the shot, it's because you're crazy and she's an expert. That sort of a thing, just giving you an example. She wasn't involved in the COVID thing, to my knowledge, but that's the purpose, right? And Dr. Jerri Franz-Fay becomes that sort of an expert with ties to the most powerful families in America and France. She also, by the way, happens to be a total and complete fraud. I am confident that Jerri Franz-Fay is a fraud, okay? Fraud, capital F, fraud. How do I know? Look no further than this report that came out of Radford University that Jerri Franz-Fay produces pertaining to Native Americans and the Appalachian Mountain. I'm just going to show you the cover of this report really quickly. So it says that who's putting together this report? The Center for Gender Studies, and it lists 5 names: Marjorie Wayland, George Bourne, Richard Castor, Susan Friedman, Jerri Franz-Fay. Well, not what she doesn't communicate in this report is that that's her family. Marjorie Wayland is her mom. Richard Castor is her nephew, her sister's son. This is why they just get married so much, because, and I didn't even look into the other two. I just couldn't, once I realized that the 2 of these people were her family and they're going to produce a report, I just went, oh, she's like a whole fraud. That's just effectively Mormon mafia, right? We've done a report. I guess we can go into Native American. They need feminism or something. We can go right onto the reservation. These women want to be free, something like that. But I want you to sear that into your mind. Mormons conducting research, students conducting research. Again, this is a background episode, but that's going to become very relevant as we examine Erica Kirk's ties to Eastern Europe, because Jerri Franz-Fay gets involved in Eastern Europe, especially in Eastern Europe. What is going on, by the way, with all these Mormon missions? Tyler Boyer, I'm kind of speaking to you, my friend. I know about your time in Romania. I've got the receipts. Now, we'll dig into that. But the reason that I wanted to
Sorry, my apologies. Candace Owens cannot help herself when it comes to going off the deep end when it comes to conspiracy theories. There are various families who they specialize in one industry or complementary industries, and they work together a lot. Um, Not understanding something does not make it a conspiracy, does not make someone a quack. There are plenty of things that are outside of my wheelhouse, but I do have to get a base level of understanding when covering certain things. So I ask people who that is their wheelhouse. I don't make a conspiracy out of it. Now, is it very peculiar? All of the intersectionality? Yes, if you aren't a part of certain worlds. And this lets me know how much on the outside Candace Owens has been, or how much she just has not paid attention to, or how much she still wants to sensationalize. Um, because you're going to have a lot of overlapping at certain levels. It's no different than, let's break it down simply, your local high school. Regardless of how many high schools you have in your city, in your area, there's one that maybe a lot of your friends or family members or your children go to. You start to get to know the principals, the counselors, the who's who at the school. There's a lot of overlap between social events and different things because of connections and you and your degrees of separation. Same thing anywhere else. If I get my big break in an industry with a certain group of people, we're going to keep crossing paths because we're in each other's networks. Our networks are going to snake in and out. They're going to intertwine. Now, it is not uncommon, especially in the Mormon world, from what I've learned, for there to be child brides. And usually the children don't have to fake their own documents if they want to get married. The parents would help them do it. And the fact that the parents welcomed them back doesn't sound like she did anything to her birth certificate to go off. They would have been more upset about the divorce than the marriage. There's a lot that, why is this family and people associated with the Fronsby family, with Erica Kirk's family, why are they so quick to lie about so much? It gives credence to a lot more questions. I still have the big question of, when is this woman able to grieve? And yes, I understand and respect that people grieve differently. Some people need to throw themselves into work. But this seems to be a lot different than just simply one throwing themselves into work. Oh, um, it has just been confirmed. Neil Sedaka, songwriter and hitmaker over multiple generations, has died at the age of 86. So, although Candace Owens can make good points and she does ask the questions at times that we do need to ask. Sometimes she does not want to admit she's over her depth, and she is sensationalizing things a bit for the sake of ratings. Now, let's go to this next one from her.
From 1993 to 1999. We showed you this photo of her in the first grade. We also then showed you this photo of Erica in the second grade. Erica, by the way, I should note, because we got some comments about this, she has spoken about how her mother chopped her hair off. So that is a known thing because she didn't know how to do her hair. I'm actually inclined to think that it was because her dad was taking care of her at that time. I'm not positive about that, but that would definitely make sense because these are going to be the years that she has a stay-at-home dad. Third grade photo.
Are we going to act as if there aren't women who have a jealousy factor when it comes to their daughters? And there are also times throughout history in the United States that a lot of women would try to buoy up their daughters to dissuade predators. I'm not saying that's what happened, but for the mother to say, "Oh, I didn't know how to do her hair," y'all have the same type of hair. She isn't a biracial child, is she? So you have the same hair texture, you have all the same things. That's weird. That's odd.
We have here with Erica in this school. This is without question a school that is being designed by the elites. It is backed by the Bushes and the Waltons. They, among other elite families, they are again kind of getting into government.
Sorry. It's not uncommon for wealthy people to want their children to have certain advantages, privileges in life, and they do stack the deck when it comes to their education. We are not that far removed from Collegegate, where people were pretending that their children were on these sports teams in order to get athletic scholarships for people who did not need a scholarship to get into Ivy League schools that they did not qualify for in the first place. Like, this is not uncommon. There are tons of books and studies written about this, the disparities in education and how people will throw money on it to give their children a leg up. This is not some government experiment extravaganza.
Money in a way, pioneering charter schools. You give us the tax dollars and we'll show you a better way to use them. Government schools are failing, right? We're always in that right versus left false dialectic, but the same families are benefiting.
Most of these charter schools did not start off with the wealthy. The wealthy looked at how the underserved, the less financially stable, less financially privileged were benefiting from charter schools. I have 3 out of 4 of my children went to a charter school that was actually started off being sponsored by the surviving Tuskegee Airmen of the time. I, as a teenager, grew up around the corner from a charter boarding school specifically for children of color. Yeah, it's okay to learn things. Everything is not a conspiracy. You don't have to make everything into one.
From it. We're going to use this government money. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to do all that. You need to have your elite.
And for the most part, for a very long time, charter schools were not getting government money. That's been, yes, there are outliers everywhere and in every situation, but this push for charter schools to get state funded funds and government money has been more of a more recent thing, widespread. Previously, charter schools had more leeway because they weren't getting an abundance or sometimes not even a dime from state governments, federal governments, anything like that. They were sponsored. Some of them had tuition programs, different things. It's okay to do more research on each bit of subject matter instead of just trying to target the person you don't like.
Psychologists on board to help develop these children, how you're going to test them, how this is going to be a different.
You can utilize a psychologist when it comes to setting up schools, maintaining schools, regarding what schedules work best for children. Is it really best for children to come in at the crack of dawn and have lunch at 11 a.m.? Do children do better and learn when everything is structured around teaching them how to just pass a standardized test? You can use a psychologist to determine and help educators, tutors, all of the staff at the school recognize signs of abuse, help children that are different abled, understand the different types of learning that occur in a school and how to adjust and partner children with proper educators so that they can have a better leg up. Everything is not a freaking experiment to create superhumans, because if that was the case and all of this was going on, please explain how we have a literacy comprehension deficit right now, and we have the dumbest administration known to mankind within the history of these here United States right now. If that was the case, especially among the privileged Christian nationalists, people would not be so easily swayed by illogical rhetoric, not even good deep fakes or AIs, and they would have presented a way better candidate than Donald John Trump Sr. for their hostile government takeover. Let's think things through here. And I think at this point in time, we have way too much emotion clouding things, and we're wanting to sensationalize for the sake of, Candace alluded to it, she still has, she gets some money to pay. The Macrons in France. And Candace isn't on a major network. She's not on the ends with conservative media anymore. And she really does not have a home to go to. So she's going to have to sensational it up. Does it mean she's going to be right on some things? Yes. Does that mean that her integrity is going to come out at time and she's going to ask the good questions? She's going to give the good information? Yes. But let's think fully and critically in taking in her information. And as I always say, it's never too late to learn how something works.
Model. And that is why it makes perfect sense that Dr. Jerri Franzweh, who conveniently is, her entire Mormon family is from Arizona. Her and Kent had a home.
And quick question, what the hell would this woman, the first wife of Erica's father, have to do with her upbringing?
Together in Arizona and in Paradise Valley, which is exactly where this particular school was. This was the first school, and this one is going to fail very quickly. But yeah, of course, she's going to help them draft those.
It's going to fail very quickly, but you have deduced that it was put together for all these nefarious intents. And you know what? Let's just keep
psychological models that at the school that Erica attends. Now, Erica might not know this woman. She may not have met her. I would definitely.
She have met her. Like, we're acting as if there are hundreds of thousands of wealthy people out here. There's going to be pockets of them. This is why so many wealthy people look at the rest of us and assume that for the most mundane things that they think that we may have in common with somebody else, they assume we know one another. It's no different than a racist person looking at a person of color, specifically a black person, and assuming that they know every other black person. We run into someone who believes or even say it, seen somebody with locks and go, oh, do you know such and such? They have locks too. This is what... There aren't that many wealthy people. There aren't that many people with this much privilege. This is, it's kind of like the same joke that people have regarding folks in the world of sports and in the world of Hollywood, especially here in the United States, where they're like, there's nobody else for them to date. No, but then y'all criticize them when they date a regular person. Like Matthew McConaughey married a waitress and y'all drugged them for years. Oh, she's a gold digger. She wants this. They happy, mad, and drunk in love. But no, there's not too many people. Where else you going to find somebody? And find somebody that you can trust. Slightly lightweight. Let's go.
Be shocked if she didn't know about Dr. Franzweh. Is she just doing the models? Did she sit down with the kids? I don't know. But this is going to be how they handle these students is going to be described as the Tesseract way. Now, I want you to know who else is involved with this school. Because if you think Dr. Jerri Franzweh is problematic, well, I told you already that John T. Goley is the CEO of Tesseract. He does that announcement about it with Jeb Bush, who is, supporting charter schools. Well, I told you John T. Goley, he was working with Roundup Monsanto on their launch. So I guess him and Jerry's with DuPont. That's a natural alliance, poisoning the population and getting away with it. But there's some other key players here. I really want you to know about this guy named Phil Bliss, who joins the board of Tesseract. Okay, Phil Bliss here, over there in the corner. Phil Bliss, the board member, was involved with Stanford University in the 70s. I'm not going to... Yes, I am MK Ultra. Okay, he was known widely during that time as a drug counselor. Yeah.
For things to be so secretive, so hush hush, and they're working so well. Why do so many people know about it in such detail? People who've never worked for these organizations. And if it's so well at controlling people and erasing memories, how does everybody have a memory of it? And once again, how does everybody have all this detailed information around all these secret missions, secret programs, secret, because nobody has said, hey, we got this whistleblower. This is how we got this information.
Oh, okay, everyone's taking LSD. You got the drug counselors, and he is also working with Stanford's Hospital for Addiction.
And here's the thing. People, including myself, make fun of RFK Jr. because he's like, oh, I didn't have focus until I started doing heroin. I would like to know, because there's a big chunk. There's an intermingling of a period in time where there were multiple generations that were getting high off their ass. Then they were claiming for the sake of experimentation, but they were experimenting on themselves. So there's no way that they were properly getting notes, etc. on this. And they were just floundering around. So if they're all hopped up on LSD, how are they coming up with a diabolical plan?
In research, right? He then co-founds a school in Palo Alto, which is called Mid-Peninsula High School. He installs himself as the principal of that school, and that school then has a shooting. In 1996, it turns out that the student that committed the shooting had been working with Philip Bliss through his depression. Okay.
We're all about 5 to 6 degrees of separation from one another. But yes, one day somebody could commit a crime, and because let us not forget that Candace Owens' name and quotes of her rhetoric were found in at least one manifesto of a school shooter. Let's really put things into context.
Fantastic candidate. I don't know. I got a lot of questions about these psychologists. As I said in the first episode, when you look at all these things that are happening, school shootings, behind everything is a psychologist.
Here's the thing. There is a lot of heavy lifting going on. There's a lot of stretching. This is Mrs. Incredible level of stretching this time around to try to connect things to Erica and make them very nefarious. This is where we have just sensationalism meets emotion. Whatever the actual relationship is with Candace Owens, Erica Kirk, and Charlie. We cannot allow ourselves to compartmentalize ourselves so far out of reality that we're trying to connect X's and O's into a triple axle. Let's see what else she says.
And a prescription counter, truly. He also, on that same campus, by the way, he was on the board of a French-American school, so he also has French connections, but that's just kind of implied now in my life. The person who is going to be running the school as the executive director is a woman named Jill Kessler. She's the executive director, and she says that she moved to Arizona for her husband's job. And he is a pediatric developmental behavioral pediatrician, whatever that means. He specializes in children and behavior, essentially. So she is well suited above.
Well, there are children that have behavioral issues, but what her husband does for a living, what the hell does that have to do with her?
Her is Susan B. Silverstein, who is the vice president of development. I have a very strong indication of who Susan B. Silverstein is, but unless I'm certain, I'm not going to show the face and tell you the backgrounds. But yeah, we're just going to pause on that. But we had a strong suspicion about who Susan B. Silverstein is. But like I said, they have done a very good job of wiping anything and everything about this particular Tesseract in Paradise Valley, which eventually shuttered in 2000 from history. I mean, even books.
I don't think that it was shuttered from history. I think people are forgetting that there was a huge chunk, the majority of U.S. history up until this point, that was before the internet. And there are some things that have not made it to the internet yet because what was the reason? And there are plenty of schools that aren't in history books because the schools didn't make history, not notable history on a wide scale. Like that doesn't make it a conspiracy theory. That doesn't make it nefarious. My maternal grandfather went to a high school that no longer exists. Outside of any survivors that may still have yearbooks, you would know that it was ever a high school. It looks completely different, except for one building that still stands because it now sits as a part of a college campus. But it wasn't anything nefarious, nothing notable, nothing to write home about happened there. Schools come and go all the time, B. Like, are we serious right?
They're like, this person wrote a book on the collapse of it. The book is just gone. You cannot find this book anywhere.
Did anybody truly write a book on the collapse of it, though? Was there really a collapse? Like, people say stuff every day. I had a woman say, a couple years ago, actually, she stalked me for a couple years online, claimed that she and her mother wrote a harrowing history of marginalized people in California. Come to find out, her mother wrote a book. It's got some history in it, faux history, and what she was touting was in the book isn't in the book. It's not. People lie. I'm like, and I need you to think, like, if no one famous, no one notable came out of this high school, if this high school didn't do anything, why would somebody just randomly write a book about this high school? They came together, they created a high school, they had this concept, the concept didn't work. Do you know how many schools concepts there are that go up and come down and don't work? I'm not like on the side of anybody in this, but let's not be ridiculous.
I told you already that John Walton, obviously the son of Walmart founder Sam Walton, is a major investor, and he also sits on the board. And my viewpoint is that it is fair to suggest that the school in and of itself was a psychological experiment, and the school completely falls apart.
Was it known that it was a psychological experiment? Because how are you supposed to pull this off? And it's widely known that it's a psychological experiment, because if it's widely known, then the students would be able to skew things. The parents would be able to skew things. People wouldn't send their kids there. Okay. You know, all right. Cuckoo, let's get past this.
Reality was fluid, convinced these parents that he could.
Names here, but the family that I received these yearbooks from, they had a child, multiple children actually at the school, and obviously the child is an adult today and has always maintained that he was sexually abused by very specific people at the top of this school. Obviously, I'm not going to name those people. I have no evidence of this, but
okay, that's not a conspiracy. I don't mean to sound crass, but we hear about misconduct with educators damn near daily. But let's just roll through these.
Was very compelled to listen and also to believe that individual, because, well, child abuse and psychology go hand in hand. So even if I didn't have his account.
Does it? Like, let's not say that. Let's not demonize an entire profession. Especially with no concrete evidence. Let's not do that. Let's not. Let us not. With just like with anything involving your children, vet it to the best of your ability, but do not withdraw or remove the option preemptively of psychological assistance because of something like because of a statement like this. That is very, very irresponsible, and let us not do that. Let us not paint blanket strokes over things like this. Let's not. That is harmful, especially in a day and time where we are doing our best to undo past traumas, past everything, and trying to teach children, how to recognize safe adults and things like that. And at times we all may need to see a psychologist or whatever. Don't preemptively have children terrified to receive help. It perpetuates the cycle.
I would not have doubted it. Dr. Jerri Francevey herself, by the way, was friends and colleagues with Dr. John Money, the notorious psychologist who was one of the fathers of transgenderism, who then it turned out notoriously abused children. If you guys don't know who I'm...
There is no father of... Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's keep going.
Speaking about, as soon as Jerri Francevey opens the gender clinic at Radford University, or heads up the gender research center at Radford University, she brings over Dr. John Money. This is who Dr. John Money is. Take a listen.
John Money, he's one of the greatest villains in history, and he is the father of gender ideology. And he became that by abusing two twin boys, one of whom had his genitalia basically destroyed in a botched circumcision. Money believed that sexuality was fluid, convinced these parents that he could raise that boy as a girl and it would be fine. Long story short, that didn't work out. That boy was every bit a boy. When he was told what had been done to him, it destroyed him, and he eventually ended up committing suicide. Money was a hero because he told the world that his experiment succeeded, and it wasn't until the young man comes out and tells his story that people realize not only did it not succeed, but he abused those boys horribly. People needed to know where this ideology came from. This guy who...
They're talking about the John Jones case. John Money, in the mid-1960s, encouraged the gender reassignment surgery of David Reamer, who was born a biological male but suffered an irreparable damage to his penis as an infant. Is gender fluid? Yes. The thing of it is, you cannot force the fluidity. Just simply altering someone's genitalia does not make them feel from the inside out as non-binary, as male, as female. Gender is not on a binary. Now, the parents did consult with Money. The parents did decide to raise them as a girl. He had his testes and damaged penis removed and reconstructed into a vaginal canal, etc. Stop. The child was renamed Brenda, and they received estrogen during adolescence to promote the development of breast. Throughout childhood, this child was never told anything about ever being a boy. They thought that everything that they were going through was normal for being a girl, which not true. And you get older, you have conversations with friends, Now, as part of the research, Brenda and the twin brother were directed to inspect one another's genitals and engage in behavior resembling sexual intercourse. And there are a lot of questions, a lot of arguments that can be made. But bringing this into it and perpetuating transphobia for the sake of being upset because you lost a friend, this is getting to a ridiculous level. But this is where we will stop for tonight. Enjoy your weekend.